Hey guys, back for episode 3 of season 2, Out the Top. I'm Brian Dunnigan. I am back at the new Rock Life Studios. We've got Dan Carter with us, as always. How are you doing, Mr. Dan?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Well, do you want the truth or do you want me to lie? It's one of them kind of things.
Hey, I understand.
So we took our first off week of the season already. I know after 2 episodes we took an off week. Main reason for me was my kid had to have his tonsils taken out. Didn't know how that was going to go. Wasn't really a whole lot going on, so I was like, well, we might as well skip. Well, it's a good thing we did. As you can hear probably in my voice, ever since we've been gone pretty much, my entire family's had the flu. So I don't know if we could have talked to you last week if we wanted to.
Right.
It's been rough. I'm just now getting over it. My wife has had a fever now for probably 5 days in a row, so she's still in rough shape. But the kid got his tonsils took out, and this is okay. This is the funny part of this. It's not funny, but it's funny. So before we went to to have his appointment done, he started to get a little sick, and Paige was starting. She's like, "Oh shit, he's getting strep throat again," which is why we're having his tonsils removed. He's had strep throat probably 10 times in the last 2 years, and so we called the doctor, and the doctor's like, "We don't care. Look, we gonna cut that out of him anyways." So they're like, "Bring him on." So we got him up there, got all that done, got back home, and the poor little feller. That was on a Friday. Friday he felt kind of okay. Of course, he was still kind of doped up. Saturday and Sunday he felt pretty rough. Monday he felt really bad, and then Tuesday, Wednesday is when we all started feeling bad actually. But after we got to thinking about it, we didn't put two and two together until we got sick. The poor kid has had his tonsils removed and probably had the flu at the same time. And we were like, why is he not getting over this? Why is he not getting better? He wasn't getting any better. And
Right.
come find out, he had the damn flu while all this was going on. So he didn't leave the couch for a week. We've not left the couch for several days. So
Mm.
you can hear it in my voice. It's been a fun couple days. So we picked a good week to take off.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it
Yeah.
at
The
that.
weather's been cruddy, so that was a perfect time
Well,
to
that and it's been
lay low.
zero. There was one day last week where my little town, Monticello, Kentucky, was the coldest place in the continental United States.
Right.
Negative 22 in Kentucky. That's horseshit. I don't know how else to put it. That's just crazy. Um, we had probably 6 to 8 inches of snow accumulation over while all this was going on, while we're all sick. Can't go to work, can't go to town, can't do nothing, can barely get out to get any medicine. Thank God I have an old crappy 4-wheel drive 4Runner that gets me anywhere I need to go.
Right.
So I was able to get out a little bit and stretch our legs some. But it's been a crappy 2 weeks. We're starting to get on the mend. So hopefully no more breaks for a little while. Coming up this week is I guess the opening week of Hammertown.
That's right.
Everybody's favorite couple weeks of the year. Um, I don't know if you've been following along with the weather saga out there.
Mm.
It looks pretty interesting on the dry lake bed.
Right.
I think old Travis Skelton was out there going to be doing some. I guess he's co-dogging for Paul again, and Travis has been posting some pretty good pictures of the pit area. He said their pits had like 6 inches of water in it.
That's got to be terrible.
Well, Paul's got this, big toter with the big kind of moving trailer like what you've got, and they've got one of the big awnings on it. Well, they got there, got it set up. It come a flood. They had to take it down, move, put it back up, and they've not even started to even think about racing yet.
Right.
So those guys are going to have a hard couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to that though. I like. I'm kind of bummed they're not doing the shootout this year.
Yeah. And I know you and I talked to Miss Pam a few weeks ago, and she said that there was a petition online somewhere that was petitioning Dave Cole to start the shootout back. I'll look for it. I couldn't find it, but if that's a real thing, and she thought she had seen one, so I don't know. I would love to put my name on there as well, because that's the only reason I was ever interested in King of Hammers back many years ago. We always watched the shootout.
That's what got us or got me interested, to even know what Ultra 4 was.
Right.
Was the shootout. We used to have, and this is years ago before I, really got into this that heavy. We would have shootout viewing parties.
No, for sure.
Wednesday night at the house or whatever night of the week it was. We would have throw a big party and we'd stay up all night and watching the backdoor shootout.
That's right.
I think it ran its course when they took it away and went out to, I think, Chocolate Thunder is where they've been having it. And it's not it's not as exciting.
Right.
The courses are longer, slower. Recovery time has just been horrible. And I think that has killed some interest in it. And see, we used to have this shootout also on the East Coast.
Right.
It was the SRS V Ultra 4 shootout. And I think that's what, they tried to do out there was SRS versus, Ultra 4. But the problem was they couldn't get no Ultra 4 guys to do it.
Right.
And, I mean, rightfully so. Who wants to wreck their primary race car in a hill climb the week of a big race?
Right.
But I don't know. Try scheduling it differently. Because I mean it's bad when you've got rock bouncer guys hauling all the way out there just for that, and we can't get hardly any interest from the host parties. I guess I don't know, or move it back to back door. I think if it
Yeah.
go back to back door, I think it would help a lot.
I I think that, and let's. I know everybody's probably ready to pack up and go home after the race, but everything's still salvageable, do it right after the race. Do it that night.
You could probably the problem with doing it that night, and I've thought about that too. But you know how it is. When we get done, it's like, okay, shit. Now we got to get loaded up,
Right.
and we got to start this trek home. Of course, most of those guys aren't leaving right after the race, because by the time you wind down, load up, you ain't gonna get nowhere. So most people wait till the next day to leave, anyways. But the problem is that race runs so long.
Right.
If they're running on Saturday or whatever, and they literally keep the timers on for I don't know how many hours. It's probably till after dark.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. That would be a headache, and I get why they don't do it. It was a good midweek show. I just think they messed up moving it from back door. And I know the same old thing would get old after so long, but man, that's just where the excitement was.
That's right.
I own a Toyota, 4 or 5 of them. I wouldn't drive to California to watch one of them climb a hill. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you got these old Toyota buggies out there running the shootout and doing decent,
For sure.
it's no longer a shootout.
Right.
You know, I know where our place is with our Toyota trail rigs, and it's not in a competition like that. Uh, what is okay? Obviously, we're UTV guys. But realistically, what is your if you could go out there and spend the week? Shootout's not there. What would you be most interested in, like actually watching? You got the 4,400 cars, the EMC Everyman Challenge, which is pretty cool. Of course, they already had the King of the Motos,
Right.
which I think is an awesome race. UTVs, the desert trucks, the T1 trucks. There's a lot of cool stuff that I would like to see. But what would be your if you had one day to spend out there? Which race are you going to watch?
I'm probably going to blow a lot of people's minds by saying this, but I think the class 1100 or was class 11 little beetle bugs.
No,
They put on a heck of a show.
that looks cool.
Um, love those guys, and then of course, yeah, I think the T1 trophy trucks. That'd be cool to see.
I liked watching, and I missed it this year. I didn't get to see any of it. I liked watching the moto race,
Hmm.
especially the very start of it, because they just turn them all loose
Yeah,
and funnel them into this little canyon most of the time, and it's just here, boys. They look like a bunch of piss ants trying to run over each other. Um, so that's pretty fun to watch. I do like the only thing I don't like about the actual hammers races is they get so strung out, and it's I don't know when you've got 10-15 minutes in between your winner and second place or more. I don't know. I just kind of lose a little interest in it
right.
after that. The first lap for me, whatever that is, the first lap is pretty entertaining because you kind of get to see some comers and goers maybe. But then after
Right.
that, it just kind of when they get in the desert, it gets stretched out, and I don't know. I don't know. I like it. It's cool,
Yeah,
but
I'm with you on that. Like if it was everybody staying close together and it being anybody's game, but like you said, when it gets too stretched out, and you're like, man, if you're pulling for somebody and they're way back from first, I mean, they could be top five and still be 5 minutes behind first place.
yeah, if they're top five, they're probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
then it's like for anybody to advance, then you're just waiting on somebody to make a mess up.
hmm that's again, and that's the name of the game. And I hate trying to keep up with um, the corrected time in my head.
Right.
So like the first year, Paul or might have been when Nathan. Um, it was when Paul ran with Nathan, Paul and Nathan Wolf. Paul was still racing SRS at that point, and he went out there one year and co-dogged for Nathan.
Right.
And I was like, I'd met Nathan, sold him several parts. Rock Life was on the car, and when he started, like I was trying to, because I think they were 30 seconds apart. You had your two rows, 30 seconds, or your two cars, and then every 30 seconds they released two more cars.
Right.
So I was trying to like the top competitors in my head. I was like, okay, how many rows back was he in the start? So I know how many minutes to add to his time, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? How many
Right.
30
Yeah.
seconds to figure in to see if the guy who is physically fifth is maybe has a chance at being first.
Right.
A lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times if you're first, you're first.
Right.
Because if you're not, you usually get caught in a log jam and you get slow. But it's possible for the guy who crosses the finish line fifth to win the race.
Oh yeah.
So that's a little complicated too, and I caught myself trying to keep up with that, and that's pretty tough. But it is a big week, and we'll talk about some more next week because they don't actually start racing Wednesday, Thursday next week. I think is when some of the big races get started. Maybe Tuesday. I'll have to check the schedule. But I know pre-running starts Friday, Saturday, and then they're doing some qualifying stuff. I think maybe Monday, Tuesday. So all your big races are next week. So we'll have a couple more weeks to talk about that. But I just hope it dries out for them because the pictures
sure.
I've seen, it looks like the lake bed is turning back into a lake.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's any chance of hammerlong this week.
No, I don't think so. They all should have took scuba masks. All right, so this past weekend was the National Parts Unlimited Dealer Show in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a show that typically I go to as Rock Life. Haven't missed it since we became a dealer for Parts Unlimited. Up until this year, you went with us last year.
Right.
Pretty cool show. I wasn't able to go this year because of my son's surgery, but you decided you wanted to go on ahead and go again. Tell us how it was. I've heard that it wasn't the show that it was last year from some other dealer friends, but nevertheless, tell us a little bit about the show. Did you see anything worth mentioning? Meet anybody cool? Talk to anybody? Just give us a little lowdown.
Yeah. I'm like you. I was a little bit disappointed that the show size didn't seem as near as large as it was last year. Um, I would say the attendance was probably down due to the weather. It was kind of cold. Uh, Louisville did get a good bit of snow. So I would say, as far as the attendance of the dealers, I could expect that to be down. But as far as the vendors that were there, like you and I talked earlier, they plan this stuff out months in advance, and they have it budgeted through the next year of what size booth they want. But it even seemed like there wasn't as many vendors there as there was last year. So I would say that that place, if I just had to guess, was probably about 20% smaller than it was last year. Um, it seemed like they were focusing more on the, I guess um, the street bike stuff more than the off road stuff. We saw probably, I would say, no more than 5 UTVs there, if there were even that many.
They're usually a little street bike heavy, um,
Right.
and that's nothing new. But they had been kind of turning the corner and trying to do more UTV stuff as a. Okay, let me back up. Parts Unlimited is a wholesale distribution place for places like us to get our parts from, and their main focus for years has been bikes.
Right.
Bikes. So a lot of they have a metric, just ton of anything that you see that's probably on a Harley running up and down the road is probably come from Parts Unlimited drag specialties
Right.
at somewhere. It either come from Harley or Parts Unlimited.
That's right.
But they've been trying to get into the UTV market a little bit more. Like when I say bikes, they're big on street bikes, and they are big in the dirt bike world.
Right.
UTVs has kind of lacked across the whole company with them. We have been working with them trying to get some more involvement and get some more higher end product into their catalog, I guess you could say. And I thought they had been doing that because last year when we went, we did see some cool stuff.
Right.
There was the Turbo KRX,
Right.
that was there. Then the Performance Machine guys who do street bike stuff, they had the billet knuckles and the billet wheels and some of that stuff. And you've got companies like Trinity Racing, Ibach, Maxima, of course, Highlifter. So they're doing better. But like I said, I talked to Eric Brown. Eric said that they were down this year. He said I probably didn't see three UTVs the whole time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so they are bike heavy. I don't know. I wish they would. I guess that's where the money's at, though.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say that it's more affordable, but you got to think there's a lot of families that they're into dirt bikes. And then, uh, it seems like it's a lot cheaper if you've got kids to have a four seater. But when those kids get old enough, they want to drive something else or play with dirt bikes, or buddies have dirt bikes. Then it's a lot cheaper to pick your kid up a $1,500 dirt bike than it is a $15,000 razor.
Yeah.
So, uh, so I understand, and I get it, but uh, it's one of those things we've always talked about that there's always room for improvement at any of these expos, and it just depends on where they want to go and how far they want to push it.
It had been I'd been last every year they didn't have it in COVID year, whatever year that was. Um 21 they didn't have it in 21. But I'd been every year since 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20. Um I really enjoyed it. It's always been a pretty good show, and I've always seen something, or as a dealer, I've always seen something or learned about something um, that was either new or that I had access to that I had no idea that I had access to.
Right.
And that's what for me. That's more what this kind of show is about. Is because this is very. Think of it like this: back in the day, when you went into a parts house, they didn't have computers to
Right.
look your parts up on. They had a big 1,000-page, 1,500-page catalog, more or less.
Right.
And you seen the old man behind the counter flipping the catalog. Well, guess what? That's us. That's the power sports industry still.
Right.
We still have to flip through those catalogs. It's online, but you still have to flip through the catalogs for the most part. And stuff gets missed.
Right.
There's no way you can see everything that's in them books and everything that's online. And so it's good for me to go to them and just pick up on some stuff that maybe I didn't know about,
Right.
that was always been one click away from me for the store. Did you see anything there? Speaking of that, did you see anything there new and noteworthy?
Yeah, I mean there's a good bit to mention. Um, but like you said, there's more and more that's available to you that you just don't really think about. And I can't remember if they were there last year or this. I'm sure they were, but there was so much to take in. But Warren Winches, they were there and had a lot more of a display, in my opinion, this year than they did last year. Um, used to, you would walk up, see something like that, and they just have 5 or 6 winches on display, but they really focused on the accessories this year. Um, Rigid Industries, I see a lot of people online that want good lighting options besides, Amazon and eBay. Uh, so Rigid had stepped their game up. They had just about every light bar they could get their hands on, they brought with to the expo. So stuff like that, and then you learn a few things too, and you may hear it and it may not sink in, but I didn't know until this past weekend that uh, Highlifter had purchased STI, and they've got a lot in the works. And they were there and they released their new rock tire, so we were able to see that, firsthand. And it's going to be an interesting year for everybody because there were a few different companies there pushing out new products for next year.
Well, I'm interested to see that new Highlifter rock tire has been making some waves, and it's not even out yet.
Right.
I don't know anybody that's actually got real world experience with it. It looks good. And the people that I know that went to the show that seen the tire in person, they say it looks good. They say it feels good. That it's going to be an actual contender to maybe displace or come close to the Rockzilla. Um, Either way, it's nice to have somebody else in the market in that category. I get so damn tired of everybody calling wanting Rockzillas at the store. It makes me sick. So at least we'll get to talk about something new. We've got several of them that should be on the first shipment coming in for the store. So interested to see how those do versus some of the heavy hitters in the sticky game. But yeah, Highlifter got STI about probably 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I think uh, STI's had a hard run.
Right.
Um, they were distributed by another company. That company went belly up. Then they moved to where they're at now, Parts Unlimited, and then something happened, and I don't know. There was a lawsuit and something else and something else. But Highlifter ended up with them, and they've done really good with them. Trying to break out of the Highlifter is strictly mud stuff mindset, trying to get
Yeah.
into the some of the East Coast market as well. So they're doing pretty good. I think the name hurts them more than anything. Um,
Yeah. You mentioned Highlifter, and then my nephew that we were on our way back through Nashville. He's living in Nashville now, and I was telling him that talk to the guys at Highlifter, and because he was wanting to know if there was anybody there that he would know, and I was like, well, I'm sure you've heard of Highlifter, and he's like, oh yeah, that's well the company that builds all the lift kits and stuff for the four wheelers.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, but they're way more than that now.
yeah.
They take that idea and multiply it times a million, and that's about where they sit, as far as being a company today.
They're coming on. And just what you said, they've got their suspension stuff is actually getting good. Um, they've got some neat tools. Um, the tire and wheel game with the acquisition of STI has completely revamped what they had going on. They got rid of some stuff that STI had going on, and then they've changed some stuff and made it a lot better. But yeah, as a whole, that company is booming, and that's our friends that we've talked a lot about in the last year, Southern Bounty Series. Tony does a lot with Highlifter, and he speaks highly of everything that they've got going on. So
Right.
it's not the same company it was, I don't think, even 3 years ago.
Right.
So they're coming on. Anything else comes to your mind from up there?
It was cold.
Yeah.
Gosh, it was cold. But we enjoy the expos. We had a good time, and I kind of look at it as like a little mini vacation as well. When race season starts, we're just balls to the wall, 90 to nothing. Trying to get everything ready, keep everything ready. You don't really get a chance to wind down and take in the sight. So it was a good time to go up, and we uh, felt like with the weather being bad that we would just Uber wherever we needed to go. We'd leave the car in valet. So we kept the car in valet and we went grabbed some food and got to see the sights a little bit and uh went trying to think one of I can't think the name of the place is Drake's. So we couldn't figure out what we wanted to eat, but that was the coolest place. I'd never been to one, but it's like to tell you how much randomness of food they have at this place. The people sitting beside us had sushi for an appetizer and they were stuffing their faces with cheeseburgers for lunch.
Yeah.
So
That's how you get down.
yeah, I mean, like it's just crazy that I've never been somewhere that has such a broad spectrum of whatever you wanted to eat. Like that's
I've never been in one of those. I've there's a couple here pretty close to us. I've never been to one, but I'd like to go sometime. Everybody says it's good.
oh yeah, but had a good time doing that, and then we wanted to go check out some of the old vintage thrift stores and stuff like that downtown. They said there's a pile of them there, so we jump in the Uber, and next thing I know, he drops us off, and he's like, "Have a good day." We get out of the car and start looking for this place, and I'm like, "Should have done our homework before we just jumped out of the car." We're in the middle of nowhere. Uber's gone. I look up on the map. It's like 2 blocks away. It's like, oh, that's not bad. We start hiking up the hill on an icy sidewalk, 6 inches of snow. 2 blocks turns into 2 damn miles. So about an hour later, we finally find all the thrift stores and places like that. But I tell you that Louisville's a pretty cool place. There's a lot to do, a lot to see. We had a good time.
I've not spent a well, I've not spent a whole lot of time there recently. We used to go up there a lot for the houseboat expos, and we had some fun weeks up there. I've not spent much time up there in the last 15 years. Um, Never spent a whole lot of time downtown. The Fourth Street stuff I've been to just a couple times, and that's usually at the Parts Expo. Um, we used to spend some. We had some wild nights out on Dixie Highway when I was younger.
Yeah.
There's a couple establishments out there we would frequent. Those are stories for another day. But yeah, I like Louisville. It's all right. Uh, Maybe I'll get to go
Hey,
back next year. Um, you made a comment a minute ago. When race season starts, it's hectic, balls to the wall. Kind of getting everything wide open. How are we setting? Have we even looked at the cars?
um, so I will give you a little bit of information. I did go by my shop this morning,
They're still there.
and it's still there.
Hey, that's a start.
But no kidding. We've had a little bit of bad weather here, so uh, we're probably going to be off work. We're off work today, but I had some uh, what I call errands and other like book work and stuff that I had to do today. But don't really have much going on tomorrow, so I hope I can get up there tomorrow and put in a good 8 hours on the carts. Can't get it ready.
Well, we've got. I don't know what your plans are, but there's. Let's see. Just over 3 weeks before the first race, before the
It'll
first
be here.
outlaw race.
It'll be here before we know it. Which um, I'm not sure what our plans are. I would love to at least go and spectate, but I would say that we will probably have our first official race will be Windrock.
That's kind of what I was figuring, but Shoosh. It's here, buddy.
It is.
Even at Windrock, it's still. I mean, that's here. It just seems like the off season getting shorter every year, and it's not. You know, we usually start National Rock in the middle of February.
Right.
We've raced Windrock in February before, but it just, I don't know. It just seems short this year. I'm ready to get it going though. So I guess we'll be back. I told y'all we wouldn't keep you too long today. We'll be back next week. We'll talk a little bit more about the upcoming week for King of the Hammers. Maybe if Dan gets to go, he drove by the shop and his shop's still there. So next week we'll get to see if the cars are still there. Make sure it's nothing's been stolen. See if he got to get his 8 hours in. But yeah, so we'll go over a few more things in a little bit more detail next week. Hopefully, I get all of my voice back, and I don't sound so rough. Daniel, thanks for your time today, buddy. This podcast is brought to you by Out the Top Media.
Check us out on YouTube.
We'll holler at you
recap
guys
videos,
next week
tech
on
tips,
Out the Top.
installs, product reviews,